What is everybody? Kyle Murray from FTN Daily back again with the Prize Picks Prop Show. It is Wednesday, so that means we have some PGA picks for you here. I got 4 plays for the upcoming PGA tournament, the Valspar Championship, a pretty interesting tournament, although it's not as strong of a field as obviously we saw last week at the Players with an elevated event. Basically the 5th most popular tournament of the year. Uh, Awesome week. Scotty Scheffler took home the win, had an outright ticket for Scotty Scheffler, so always good to have one of those weeks, even though he was one of the favorites. You'll take it as it comes for sure. But like I mentioned, not as strong of a field this week, but definitely still an interesting one in my opinion. You still have plenty of names. We're going to talk about 2 guys that most of you, if you are golf fans, even in the slightest, will recognize their names. So definitely still some big names here, just not as strong of a field. And obviously, we'll talk about some lesser known names as well. But like I mentioned, this is the PrizePicks Prop Show, and if you're new at PrizePicks, have their use code FTN, get yourself a 100% match up to $100. It's a great way to get a bankroll going over there, and obviously tons of fun stuff going on over there right now with March Madness cooking. Which, by the way, if you are looking to get in on the action at over at in the March Madness streets, definitely recommend getting in over there at FTN Bets, or FTN Daily, where you can use code FTN, and you can get a discount there as well. If you're looking forward to March Madness like myself, you're probably building brackets right now. I just wrote an article over at FTN Bets where basically walking through how I'm utilizing the tools and the content at FTN Bets to build brackets. I'm not really a college basketball expert. I bet on it quite a bit because I tail the guys over there who do an awesome job. But I do think that, with the experience that I have, I've done a pretty good job building lineups, and I can pretty much give a good POV on how to build strong brackets using those tools and those content pieces over there at FTN. So highly recommend checking that out as well. But let's get into the picks. Like I mentioned, I got 4 of them. But before we get to my picks, let me know in the comments section below who are some of your favorite picks for this week, whether it be who do you think is going to win the tournament, who are you taking in prize picks plays. Let me know. Very curious to see where you guys are going. All right, let's get into the plays there. Like I mentioned, PrizePicks code FTN 100% match up to $100. But first pick, Matt Fitzpatrick. More birdies are better than Sam Ryder. Keep in mind these are round 1 plays. I would highly recommend getting in the Discord over at FTN Daily, where at times I'll drop plays for rounds 2, 3, and 4. You get the extra data, you get the new lines, all that stuff. So highly recommend getting that. But for this video, it's going to be round 1 plays. First one, like I mentioned, Matt Fitzpatrick. More birdies or better than Sam Ryder. Now, again, like you guys are just going to, there are a couple names here. I'll give credit to PrizePicks. They have been pretty good at setting competitive matchups here. But in terms of, where we're expecting the talent between Sam Ryder and Matt Fitzpatrick, it's just really not close. And it's not necessarily Sam Ryder's fault. He ranks inside the top 200 in terms of the world golf rankings, and for a while, he was failing to rank inside the top 200. So he recently got up there, a couple decent finishes. As of late, he had a T4 a few times out ago, and a couple of top 20s as well, actually back-to-back top 20s. So he's racked up 3 top 20s in his last 5 starts. It's not like he's playing bad. And honestly, I don't really think he's a terrible golfer by any means, but he's just not Matt Fitzpatrick, right? Matt Fitzpatrick, one of the better golfers in this field. You can argue he's the second best golfer in the field. I think it's clear that Justin Thomas is the best, but between him and Jordan Spieth, maybe Sam Burns, I guess you could argue one of those guys that are number 2 in this field. But for me, it's probably Fitzpatrick, and I think he fits this course pretty well. He's accurate. Obviously, the big talk about Fitzpatrick around the time when he won the U.S. Open was that he was gaining distance. That should be fine here, but honestly, a lot of guys are going to take less than driver off the tee, so distance with the driver won't necessarily matter. And Fitzpatrick's always been known for being good with his mid to long irons. So I think Fitzpatrick has an advantage here at this course. He's played this course twice. Last year, T5 finished, so he obviously has done well at this course. Fitzpatrick is one of my favorite golfers of the week. In terms of the favorites up here, he's my pick to win. Obviously, you have Justin Thomas, who finished T3 here last year in Spieth. Justin Thomas, I guess, would be the chalk pick, but if you're not looking at the chalk, Fitzpatrick would be my option up here. So I like Fitz quite a bit. So easy choice for me over Sam Ryder in the birdie or better department. And one thing to note, Sam Ryder has actually been better at making birdies this season than Fitzpatrick, so it's a little alarming. But again, you're just betting on the talent here in a one-round sample. Pick number two, going to be same sort of deal. Justin Thomas, more birdies are better than Trey Mullinax. Again, just banking on the talent here. Justin Thomas, like I mentioned, best golfer in this field, ninth in the world. He's a top 10 golfer. No, he didn't really have the best performance at the Players last week. I'm sure he'll be the first to tell you that. But prior to that, he had four straight top 25 finishes. Again, Justin Thomas is kind of at that point in his career where top 25 isn't good enough anymore. He wants to win anytime he's out there. So when he doesn't, I'm sure he's quite disappointed. But Justin Thomas, he can make birdies with the best of them. He's number two in this field in terms of birdies or better. And again, like when you consider that with obviously not being as strong of a field, just in comparison, he is going to have the advantage over pretty much anybody in this field in terms of birdies or better. There's only one guy who has a better birdie or better rate, and he hasn't been a full-time PGA player, which we're going to actually talk about. But regardless, JT definitely up there. And then when you look at Mullinax and his birdie or better numbers, not nearly as good, not necessarily terrible, but not as good. He ranks middle of the pack in terms of this um, field here in terms of birdies are better. But the big thing for Mullinax is I just think he's a terrible course fit, to be honest. He's long off the tee and not accurate at all. And I think that is exactly opposite of what you're looking for here at Copperhead. So I think Mullinax is just a pretty bad fit for the course. And I think Justin Thomas is the best player in the field. So again, simple decision here. Take the better player. Justin Thomas over Trey Mullinax in a round one birdie or better. I mentioned the guy who has kind of limited sample here. He hasn't necessarily been on tour full time, been bouncing back between the KFT and the PGA, and that's Akshay Bhatia, a guy who kind of is a little bit more famous in terms of the social media stuff, but he's a good player and he's got some upside, got some potential. Really young, really really long swing, a lot of speed. But when you look at some of his numbers, man, they jump off the page. And again, you have to kind of take it with a grain of salt because a lot of this stuff is limited. But when you're looking at the strokes gain numbers, that's taking account for the Korn Ferry Tour as well. So obviously, it's a little bit easier to gain strokes over the field in certain sort of smaller events or weaker events in the Korn Ferry Tour. But we saw him get the T2 at the Puerto Rico Open. Actually, I don't think it was a T2. Actually, I think it was just a second place finish there. So Akshay Bhatia, I like a lot as a young player, and I think he fits the course okay. I don't think it's necessarily elite, but he's not the longest off the tee, and he's fairly accurate. But again, some of that stuff is a little bit of a discrepancy with the smaller samples there. But he's number one in this field in terms of birdies or better. And again, you have to take that with a grain of salt because he has been a little bit limited in terms of what we've seen from him on the PGA Tour. But let me see exactly how many holes he has played in that sample. So he's played 288 holes. So I mean, it's not a ton of sample, but it's not the word. It's not like it's one or two rounds, right? So you have a little bit of a sample there. For example, he in the entire PGA, he ranks seventh. Only guys Cam Young, Tony Finau, Will Zalatoris, Max Homa, Patrick Cantlay, and John Rahm are better. And again, smaller sample here for Akshay, but 288 holes, just for comparison's sake. Will Zalatoris has played 324, Patrick Cantlay 396. A couple of other guys have obviously played more. Cam Young 504, so definitely not the largest sample there. But it goes to show it. He's done a good job of making birdies, and he's number one in this field in greens and regulation. He ranks fifth in the PGA in greens and regulation, so he's hitting a lot of greens and he's converting those. And his short game has been his biggest weakness, but again, he looks to be a very strong ball striker. So Akshay Bhatia over John Vanderlaan, who, I pride myself on maybe not necessarily knowing every player on the PGA Tour or knowing every golfer that we see in these fields, but at least recognizing the name. I didn't recognize Mr. John Vanderlaan. And honestly, when I saw the name, I kind of assumed it would be an older guy who, maybe was on the tour a while back when I was really not necessarily as into the tour. Not the case. He's 26. He turned pro in 2018. He's made two starts on the PGA Tour this season, and I believe Those are the only 2 starts. Yeah, those are the only 2 starts he's made on the PGA Tour. Sorry, he did make a start on the PGA Tour in 2018 at the Barbasol, T31 in 2018 at the Barbasol, T7 a couple weeks ago at the Puerto Rico Open, T35 at the Butterfield Bermuda Championship in 2022. So John Vanderlaan hasn't missed a cut on the PGA. Um, but again, I'm just going to take the talent over anything really, and that's kind of what this case is. And also, as little experience as Bhatia has, Vanderlaan has even less here. So keep in mind, Bhatia, he's played and done decent at a couple of U.S. Opens. So I'll take the talent and take the kind of the upside there with Bhatia. Now, this one we'll get to a spot where we actually recognize the names. KH Lee and Victor Perez. Haven't seen a whole lot of Victor Perez in quite a while. For a good couple of years, he was, at least playing regularly, and we were seeing his name fairly regularly. Hasn't been the case. He did win a couple months ago on the Euro Tour. There, I think it's the Dubai Tour now. Sorry, but yeah, the DP World Tour, I believe, is what it actually is. So he's done okay for himself over there. Hasn't played on the PGA Tour since the Genesis Scottish Open last year, and prior to that, and hadn't played since the alternate field at the Corrales and at the Puerto Rico. So not really necessarily a full-time player. KH Lee, again, full-time player on the PGA Tour, not necessarily an elite player by any means, but much better than Victor Perez at this point in his career. And when you're talking about, the official world golf rankings, KH Lee is top 100 as well. So, you have to take that into account. But again, just kind of banking on the talent. But also, I think KH Lee is a pretty solid fit for this course. He's not super long off the tee, but he's not necessarily short either. But he's fairly accurate, top 50 in this field in accuracy, 27th in terms of strokes gained approach over the last 6 months, 4th in strokes gained around the green, and 7th in strokes gained tee to green. So yeah, taking KH Lee again, banking on the talent there. And for what it's worth, there's a couple of spots over on PrizePicks for round one where it just feels like a glaring talent gap. For example, you have Jordan Spieth versus S.H. Kim, Justin Rose versus Cam Champ, who I like that a lot. We talk about Molinax just being the opposite of a course fit. Cam Champ, same thing. Not very accurate, not very good with his irons. And he's very long off the tee, but distance isn't necessarily going to matter a whole lot because, like I mentioned, a lot of guys here are actually going to be taking less than drivers. So it's a couple other names. If you're looking to round it out and make it a 6 pick flex play there for your chance at up to 30x. So yeah, keep that in mind there. And obviously we'll have some more picks as the day and the week goes on. But that's going to do it for me for today. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Just to recap, the 4 picks are Matt Fitzpatrick over Sam Ryder and round 1 birdies or better, Justin Thomas over Trey Mullinax, Akshay Bhatia over John Vanderlaan, and KH Lee over Victor Perez. Those are the 4 picks there. Let me know in the comment section below some of your favorite picks. Let me know if you're tailing, if you're fading. Curious as to if you guys like these picks or not. But that's going to do it for me. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Please like and subscribe. Helps us out a ton. And make sure you're hitting that notification bell so you know when the next video is coming. We're going to have a ton of content coming out here for March Madness. Not only PrizePicks related, but other things as well, whether it's betting, whether it's DFS. Make sure you're staying tuned over there. And right now is a great time to head over to FTN Bets and try out a free trial, 3 days, using the link ftnbets.com/free. Great chance to take advantage of that product over there for a couple of days. And it's March Madness, so great time to do so. But it's going to do it for me. Appreciate you guys tuning in. That'll do it. We will see you guys next time. And as always, good luck, everybody.